anything Vin does, we're in support of now.
Yeah. No, if anything, we gotta make this podcast legal again. We gotta shave off the VIN number.
Whoa!
Let's stop talking about VIN so that we can prep the Epstein retraction segment.
That's right. I didn't do anything wrong.
I know. Now you're trying to incorporate the other. This doesn't help.
What are you meaning?
Closer.
Welcome, residents.
I think you're overthinking it.
To the Dr. DDC podcast.
Yeah, I mean...
My name is Producer Richard.
Welcome.
Welcome to...
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I think I got it. No. I got it closer to you.
You have it closer than you last week.
I got it closer than you, period.
Saying much.
I'm very close. It's...
I mean, that's what he said. Allegedly.
Across from me is the doctor himself.
No, that can't be the actual opening. Absolutely not.
Each week we talk about the weird and
wonderful. Are you fucking kidding me? I thought that was cold open.
I don't know. It seems...
What an unlistenable intro.
Yeah, unlike
you fucking choking your way through a labored Hawking impression.
That was a great one. So good. It was really good.
Brutal.
No,
Brutal.
It was really good. I'm really
You're
proud.
Seriously not taking that intro?
No way.
Jesus.
That's it. Producer Richard is not the only thing that is going to be choking.
Oh, no.
It's fine. He's clear, right?
Yes. Which leads me mid-intro into our first new segment, Epstein Retractions, where, apparently everything we levied at Stephen Hawking last week across 2 podcasts is not true. So, or, you know.
But we did learn a little something about Grummet.
Or, well, no. The double's not out yet. The double's not out yet. Listen to the double. But yeah, so, you know, I'm sure next week there'll be a retraction of the retraction. They'll be like, oh no, we actually found papers now.
No, it's much worse than we ever thought.
Yeah. But at least for now, retracted. There. Is this a good way to start an episode? Is this fun to listen to?
Is this good content?
A bad impression?
Great impression.
Well,
I think it's
certainly a bad first impression as far as episodes go.
All right. Well, this week we're talking about the Arrow family.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of, not at all. Yeah, we're talking about the Arrow family. We got
You know who isn't Speedy?
Easy. we got a ton of questions. So many that I basically anything that was just anything that was just about Oliver Queen, I took out, and that'll be its own episode.
Okay.
Later. So all these questions are more about the surrounding members of the Arrow family.
So,
because there's lots, it's big. It's like the Bat family or the Super family now. They've all kind of grown quite a bit, especially since now we've like reconciled the continuities, so they're all part of it. Some new 52 editions and some old pre-Flashpoint stuff. And
well, damn,
yeah,
let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Starting on Facebook.
Going to the face and the book. Going to the Facebook.
First question comes from Jamie Edmond, who asks, when did the Shadow retcon happen? I went from reading the Mike Grell run where she's Ollie's lover to the Rebirth run where she's his sister. Serious whiplash.
Yeah. Aggressive
nice.
Retcon whiplash. So, Shadow.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, not Shadow.
Well, it's not. There's no W, so I was trying to figure it out.
Oh yeah, it's the only time a comic book character has had a name that's a word spelled differently. Are you fucking new?
You're coming in with a fucking attitude in this episode.
Yeah,
and I don't know where it's coming from.
And I'm right.
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know where this is, but we're taking you down a peg.
Okay. We.
The people.
Well.
Verse.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, so Shadow, if you're we're talking about the old, like the Mike Grell run, like Longbow Hunters or something. Shadow in that story is this other like expert archer, martial artist or whatever. She was the daughter of like a Yakuza boss or something like that. And in that story, she's out to kill a bunch of criminals, and Arrow is trying to just stop them the right way. But partway through that story, Black Canary gets kidnapped by said criminals, and they torture her and like assault her and stuff like that, to the point where she actually loses her canary cry. And Arrow gets so pissed about it, he kills one of them. Somewhere in or around that story is later either retconned or revealed that Shadow has taken advantage of Green Arrow in the Talia taking advantage of Bruce sort of way. And she gets pregnant. She has a kid. She names Robert after Ollie's father, Robert Queen. And that kid shows up a couple of times and ultimately kind of disappeared. He might get like weirdly aged up at one point, but that kid kind of like goes nowhere basically. But yeah, so in that version of the continuity, Shadow was a lover, a femme fatale kind of thing of Green Arrow's. In the New 52, the retcon is that she is far as I remember, I don't think Shadow is Ollie's sister. Now she has a kid with Ollie's dad, Robert, and that kid is Emiko Queen. I'm positive she's not Ollie's sister or half sister or something like that, because that seems like it would be crazy. At any rate, that is what happened. But yeah, if you're reading one and then you flip to the other, you'd be like, oh no, when was this reveal? And the short answer is there's no reveal. It's just changed.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from Braden Ketty, who asks, Red Arrow, Arsenal, or Speedy? Which code name do you prefer for Green Arrow's sidekick?
Ooh, right. Okay, so Speedy is his name as a sidekick.
Yeah.
So Roy was the first Speedy. Mia Dearden was the second Speedy later. That's the name of Green Arrow's sidekick. Now, Roy, when he got older, he was on the Titans and stuff like that, became Arsenal. And that was his name. And then when he kind of took his own place on the Justice League, when he became like a full hero on his own, he stopped running from kind of the specter of Oliver Queen or his complicated relationship with him, because like Ollie is a worse dad than Bruce is, and all these kind of things. And he was like, no, like I'm gonna own who I am, and he becomes Red Arrow. I mean, I don't know which one I like best. In a way, there's a part of me that I feel like I probably should like Red Arrow best, because that feels like he really gets to own it. But I've come around on some of that. Like whenever we talk about Batman or Dick Grayson and that, like I don't want him to be Batman. I want him to be Nightwing. And I think I kind of like these sidekicks growing up and getting their own identities. Like Wally is different, obviously. He's just the Flash, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Connor Hawke never was Speedy, but became Green Arrow. Like, it's not that I don't like people sharing the name of the hero or something like that, but there is something nice about like some of these ones like striking out on their own. There's no reason for Wally to strike out on his own. He loved Barry. He was a perfect mentor.
Yeah.
Taking over makes sense, but for someone like Dick, who maybe sees things a bit differently from Bruce, or someone like Roy, who sees things differently from Ollie, where they want to take all of that learning, be a hero, but be their own kind of hero.
Totally.
It feels like they should have their own name. So I think for me, like Arsenal is such an edgelord name, but just like philosophically, I think I got to go with Arsenal.
Yeah, it's not going to be Speedy.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thought on it. What do you think? Like, just like, I know you haven't read a ton of Green Arrow, but just like with those three laid out, what do you prefer?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Arsenal. I think that like it can't be Speedy. I think your point with Red Arrow makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing though. Technically, the question is what's the right name for Green Arrow's sidekick, and I guess that has to be Speedy. He's had multiple Speedies. It's only when Roy isn't his sidekick anymore.
It's what you prefer, but
I think Speedy is like, if there's going to be a new character, they're going to be Green Arrow's sidekick. Speedy's like entry level. It's like being Robin. Then you can grow up and be whatever you want. But for Roy specifically, I like him as Arsenal.
Yeah, sure. All right, next question from Ryan Putney, who asks, does Oliver actually have a sister, or was that just in Arrow? In fact, when it comes to Oliver's family, how close is the show to being comic accurate?
I mean, tough for me to evaluate the show because I stopped watching at a certain point. And I think I stopped watching before some of these characters got introduced. Like, they eventually introduced, like, Emiko Queen and... Well, the Shadow might have been on the show when I was still watching. They introduced, like, Artemis Croc and, like, all of these other kind of characters. And I wasn't really watching Arrow at the time, so it's hard for me to weigh in on some of that. Some of the relations are definitely different.
Mm-hmm.
How many siblings does Oliver have? Well, Emiko Queen is a half-sister. Emiko's dad is Robert Queen. They are half-siblings. There are siblings. Is there another sibling?
Thea?
Well, on the show, he had Thea Queen.
Yeah.
I don't think he has just a full-on Thea in the comics.
No, it was a show.
So that's definitely a different one. I
think
Ollie has a lot of like partial relations, like even more than someone like Bruce. Ollie has a lot of like what you'd call like modern family relations. You know, he's got like step kids and adopted kids and half siblings and like nephews and half like the whole Queen family is very like, there's a lot of these kind of like forged and partial relations that are slightly messier than even Bruce's family, which is almost exclusively just adoptions.
Yeah.
And
Emiko is like a pretty like recent,
since the New 52. Emiko doesn't
2013 or something, isn't it?
Emiko doesn't exist before the New 52.
Yeah.
And it's in like 2012 or 2013. It's during Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino's run on Green Arrow, which is incredible, by the way.
Yeah, they created her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's during this amazing arc called the Outsiders War that brings in a lot of these kind of Green Arrow things like Shadow and like Richard Dragon and all these kind of like extra things that are now just part of Green Arrow's world. They made it that there were all these clans on the island of these different martial arts that had these like totemic items. So there's the Arrow clan that had like the Arrow and stuff. And,
oh wow, okay.
Like they had all these. There's a sword clan. Katana was part of that.
Oh
like,
wow,
it's a cool ass arc. Like most of it doesn't really like factor in anymore.
Sure,
but it's cool as hell. But Emiko's shows up during that arc, I'm pretty sure. Later, she joined the Teen Titans. She's featured a bit during Dark Crisis. She's currently dating Wallace West, Kid Flash.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she's a very, very cool character.
All right, next question from Adam.
Of course, he's got like John Diggle's like a brother to him.
Of course.
Yeah. Not the same.
From Adam Upper.
I hardly know her.
Thanks. What is... You're so pissy this evening.
I'm fine.
I'm the one going to the doctors.
Oh.
Yeah, what?
Oh no, I'm gonna learn more about how to help myself.
With a fucking foot-long needle.
It's fine.
Jesus Christ. I think. Unless I end up with MS, and then who knows?
That's for the double.
Oh, sorry.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Adam Upper asks, has Speedy's former heroin addiction been touched on at all after that initial storyline?
He gets touched on so goddamn much. It's so exhausting. Like, that issue was groundbreaking. That Green Lantern Green Arrow issue with him on the cover, and he's like, oh, my ward is a junkie.
Yes.
Iconic cover. Huge. And then they never let him fucking forget it. Pre-Flashpoint, there would actually been some very good Roy stuff. He had joined the Justice League. He was clean. He was Red Arrow. He was his own hero. He had a kid, blah, blah, like all this kind of stuff. And then it started getting all edgy. Star City got destroyed. His kid was dead. All this kind of shit or whatever. And then from the New 52 on, they were just like, he's our junkie friend.
Yeah.
Anytime he showed up, they'd be like, is he drinking? Is he doing drugs? Is he drinking? Is he doing drugs?
Sure.
And that's all they would do with them. Like the trucker hat era of Arsenal during like Red Hood and the Outlaws and stuff like that in the New 52. It's all about like, I don't know if we could really trust him with this mission. What if he sees smack or something? Like every issue is like that. And then you'd cut to Roy and he'd be like, they think I'm going to keep doing drugs, but maybe even I don't know if I am. It's just like kept coming up always, every time. And anytime he showed up, they'd be like, what if there's drugs? It's truly exhausting. I feel pretty good, even just this few issues into this new Green Arrow series that really encompasses the whole Green Arrow family. I finally feel good that that's not what's happening. Like,
Sure, yeah,
that
yeah,
Arsenal's
yeah.
a real character with like actually something to do and somewhere to go.
Well, that's good.
But it's taken a very, very, very long time. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think they got caught in the trap because they paired him with Red Hood, and they were like, we know what Red Hood's trauma is. Everyone on this team needs trauma. And they were like, and Speedy, Arsenal, what's yours? And he's like, it's drugs. He just had to keep doing it, like.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the next question, which means that we're leaving Facebook and heading on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
First question comes from Madame Jankies,
Oh, no.
who asks, what's the deal with Red Canary? Who is she and where did she come from?
Pretty new character.
Yeah.
So,
This is from a crisis, isn't it?
look at you. Are you looking these up before we record? Are you
No.
prepping for the episode?
No. I mean, there is no good answer to this question because either I'm prepping or I know it, and I hate both those answers.
One of us. One of us.
Fuck off.
Here, at the end of your life, you finally embraced it. Listen to the double this week.
Personal Confessions
It's
Month.
Personal Confessions Month over on the double.
Hashtag last year of the podcast.
Yeah, patreon.com/DrDC. Truly, like, we need this money this year.
Yeah. There's some medical bills that are really piling up.
Yeah.
We live in Canada.
There's still medical bills.
Not that I'm going to pay.
Wow. We Red Canary, relatively new character. So in Justice League 75, right before Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Justice League, quote unquote, dies.
Oh my
And
God.
then the world finds out about it, and it's like they build statues for them and all this kind of stuff. Black Canary is among the Justice Leaguers who die. And her example inspires this, like, we might have gotten a first name, but I don't think we have a full name. This college student who is like a okay martial artist or whatever, who's like stolen these like tech Escriba sticks from somewhere or whatever to she just becomes the Red Canary. She's just like, I want to live up to Black Canary's example, blah, 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 blah. During Dark Crisis, she ends up on a team with Robin, Damian Wayne. That kind of goes into the multiverse a little bit. We haven't seen a ton of her, and so the question about, like, there's lingering questions about, like, who is she? Why? All of these kind of things.
Sure.
But pretty new character, but that's essentially what Red Canary is. There's not a ton of specific connection that's been revealed between her and Black Canary,
but she's got all the same powers and stuff too, right?
No sonic scream. She's just like a martial artist that wears fishnets and has a scream of sticks and wears like a biker jacket, but it's all red.
Oh,
yeah. She doesn't have like a sonic scream or anything like that.
Oh, well then what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. So just kind of interesting. Like, hopefully, I'm assuming we'll get more of Red Canary as we go in this Green Arrow series and stuff like that.
Sure. All right. Well, then let's go to the next question from Robbie's Just This Guy, who asks, who fits into the family the least and causes the most contention? Haven't read much of his books, but interesting to see how DC portrays pissed off leftist in comics.
Yeah, I mean, Green Arrow is always a kind of interesting read. It's funny because I think there's good Green Arrow runs and I think there's bad Green Arrow runs. Like, we just talked about the Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino run, which is exceptional. But the New 52 Green Arrow before they take over the book is awful. It's so bad. It's just really uninteresting and bad, and they kind of lose track of what's fundamental about the character and stuff like that. You know, there's some solid runs. Like Mike Grell Green Arrow is sort of iconic in the way that like Neil Adams, like Denny O'Neil Batman or something like that is iconic, you know? So Grell Green Arrow is up there. Kevin Smith's Green Arrow run is pretty solid.
Oh, wow.
I would say the Rebirth era Green Arrow run is really good. I think that's largely Benjamin Percy as writer and Otto Schmidt on art, if I'm remembering. That's a really good one. This current one with Joshua Williamson is good, but it's like a very different tone. It's been very like cosmic with time travel and stuff like that, and like they're very adjacent to Waller. Like all the Waller shit that's unfolding. Like the Green Arrow book, like Waller and Peacemaker and that are like in it. Like Green Arrow is the closest to the action kind of hero of this Waller thing that's been unfolding. Well, between the Titans and Green Arrow. But very different kind of book because, yeah, again, like I said, we see the Legion of Superheroes. There's been like alternate timelines and multiverse stuff. Whereas the Benjamin Percy run in Rebirth is like super grounded. There's like a courtroom drama arc. There's I think I've talked about the Ninth Circle before. It was like essentially like a villain bank. Was like a bad guy or whatever, which was perfect to put Green Arrow up against. Like that Percy run, I think, does a great job of capturing some of like the politics of Green Arrow and things like that. The Grell one is awesome for it. As far as the character that like fits the family the least,
yeah,
the uncomfortable answer is it's Roy. Now,
really,
he's one of the big ones.
Yeah,
but just. You know, well, sorry, I should correct that. It's not that he fits the family the least. It's that he has probably the most contentious relationship with Oliver. Although close second to Connor Hawke. Connor Hawke is Oliver's son that he has with Sandra Hawke during this period where he was either cheating on or broken up with Black Canary. Because Oliver is a
fucking playboy.
He's a bad guy. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, he's
or you know, just
if you want to know where Roy got his impulse control, it's from fucking Ollie.
Sure,
it's from Ollie. It's not from. Let me back up. If you want to know where Roy got his impulse control, it's from Ollie.
You think that cleared things up?
Well, I hope so. We're gonna have to do another retraction segment next week. The Oliver Queen thing we said last week, not true.
I remember him from the plane.
You're getting closer. Admittedly.
Thank you.
It's still not good. It's closer.
Yeah, it's not good.
Much better
it's
than last
great.
week. It's fine.
But
But Roy and Connor both have a contentious relationship with Ollie specifically, but not so much with the rest of them. Shadow probably has the most friction because Shadow is a sort of like sometime villain kind of character. Like Shadow's kind of on the outside of the Arrow family.
Sure.
She's only technically connected, but Shadow's sort of like a Talia kind of figure, but even less prominent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, largely on the outside of the family, I would say.
But Roy?
I'd say Roy just like, again, it's changing. Like
Sure.
immediately pre-Flashpoint or whatever, when he was Red Arrow, good teammate, he had a life and all these kind of things. And right now in the book, he's kind of coming back to that. But almost everything else was just like, I'm just a loner who doesn't know if he could trust himself around drugs. And you go like, all right, man. And he'd be like, I would come home, but I don't need another goddamn lecture about drugs. I know what my weaknesses are. And be like, cool, man. Like, do you have any other stories? And the other problem with that was that because it was the New 52, they were like, we can't acknowledge that he had a kid. We can't do any of this. Like,
it's the
all
only
of that
thing.
growth we had to undo to make him young. So it all just ended up being kind of shitty. I think the Roy of now, that doesn't apply to.
Sure.
But a lot of Roy stuff, especially if you're just diving in, and if you go and read like even the Titans stuff when it's not Red Hood and the Outlaws, but like Titans Hunt and stuff like that, when they were kind of reintroducing the original Titans team during New 52.
Yeah.
That's all they know what to do with Roy.
Wow.
Where he's like, I love Donna. It's like, she doesn't love me back. I guess she wants Wally. You're like, well, like it's all
Better do some drugs to feel better.
It's all that kind of shit, you know?
All right. Let's go to the next question from Keegan Steedman, who asks, how did this family get so big all of a sudden? Like Ollie, Diana, Roy, Connor. But now there's like 20 on top of that? What is this? The Bat family?
Okay, I'm just gonna mention this right now because I did not alter the spelling.
I did not.
Twice, two different people said that Diana is part of the Arrow family. Diana is not. That's Wonder Woman. Dinah is Black Canary.
Okay.
And you're going to put some fucking respect on her name in this house.
This is the house Dinah.
In this house, we respect Black Canary.
That costume come in yet? Yeah.
God, I wish.
Oh, man.
But yes, it does kind of feel like the Arrow family is sort of like cracked wide open now. But part of that is like now we have all of these different tendrils from kind of these merged continuities that are now one thing, right? So we've got Shadow and Emiko are half siblings for Ollie. We have Connor Hawk back, his son, and the second Green Arrow, the one that replaced him when he was dead. There's also Roy, Arsenal or Red Arrow, but also Leon, his daughter's back from the dead. So that's Cheshire Cat. And then, you know, her existing brings Cheshire in, who's her mother, who's an assassin who specializes in poisons and stuff like that. So now Cheshire is kind of in there or whatever. Obviously, we've got Black Canary. We've got her adopted kind of sister / ward, Sin Lance. There's also now this new Red Canary. Like, you're right to point out that the Arrow family is expanding. Mia Dearden, the other Speedy, there's I mean, if you wanted to expand to like Artemis Croc or something, especially in like Young Justice or things like that,
Sure,
there's quite a lot of Arrow adjacent characters. And I also think that the last few runs of Green Arrow have done a good job of like solidifying the Green Arrow Rogues gallery as well a little bit, you know, like Clock King, William Talkman, he's in there. Brick, Count Vertigo, Malcolm Merlin, the Ninth Circle, you know, like you start like expanding and you go like, oh, all of these are like, Green Arrow has like a whole corner, you know. Is it as big of a corner as Superman or Batman. No, but it's like if you like look for it, you go like there actually is like a lot in Green Arrow, you know, like which is kind of fun and interesting. And so I think what's nice about this book is that they're really treating it like some of the best Batman books, which are where you see the interconnectedness of Nightwing and Batgirl and Red Hood and the Signal and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And they're doing that with Green Arrow now, which is great.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, with that, let's leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit,
where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
First question comes from Nobody89.
That's right.
Who asks, Green Arrow has multiple sidekicks / proteges. Who'll carry on Black Canary's legacy?
Yeah, well, I mean, right now the obvious answer would be this Red Canary. We just don't know very much about her.
Yeah.
We know roughly she's not like young. Like she's not like sidekick age. She's like 20, say, or something like that.
Haven't there been like 3 Black Canaries though?
No. There had been 2. The Golden Age Black Canary.
Yeah.
Dinah Drake.
Yeah.
And then the Silver Age Black Canary with the Canary Cry, Dinah Laurel Lance.
But wasn't there
if
2?
you dig into their backstory, they have their own weird history where one was on Earth 2 and then one was on Earth 1. And then a wizard switched their bodies and one soul was in the other's body. And then they were just like, there's only one Black Canary, like continuity wise. There's Black Canary. That's it. She wasn't around in the Golden Age. She's brr. And I'm pretty sure we're mostly still in that mode. I think they might have kind of brought back the Golden Age Black Canary, but she didn't have powers. Now, what you're thinking of is on the show, there were 3.
Okay, because there was like 2 Dinahs, wasn't there?
There was Sarah Lance, who eventually goes on to be White Canary and goes to Legends.
Yeah.
There was Laurel Lance,
okay,
who was like the DA and then became Black Canary after Sarah, quote, died.
Yeah.
And then they later introduced Dinah Drake, a separate character, also a DA, who also was Black Canary.
So weird.
And then in addition to that, on Arrow, they introduced Black Siren, the Earth 2 evil version of the Laurel Lance Black Canary, who then stayed on main Earth in the Arrowverse and joined the team and became good. Jesus. So they actually had 4 canaries on Green Arrow. None of them were right as far as the comics were concerned.
Oh my God.
Yeah, one of the biggest fumbles of Arrow is Black Canary.
Yeah.
And like individually, each of those actors brought something interesting to it, but just like the general idea of like, what's Black Canary? Like you could tell everyone just like threw up their hands and went, anything we want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
no one reads. You know, like
sure, yeah.
Truly rhombus decision making as far as Canary was concerned on that show.
Could Connor theoretically take up?
I mean, I guess he could, but he's already been Green Arrow. He's
sure.
He is Green Arrow in the way that there are 2 Flashes or whatever. Technically, Red Canary seems like the most poised to take over because Sin Lance. I mean, Sin has some martial arts training and stuff like that. And been kidnapped by the League of Shadows or whatever. Sin is at the heart right now of the Birds of Prey book. So, you know, we are kind of bringing back some of the Black Canary family a little bit too. But yeah, Black Canary's never really, truly had a sidekick. Sin is maybe the closest you ever got because she would actually interact with the Birds of Prey and stuff like that. But then Black Canary was like, I'm retiring. I have a kid to raise.
Sure.
So it wasn't like Batman where he's like, great. Cheap labor, like she had a total opposite kind of reaction to the responsibilities of parenthood than Batman does. Black Canary's never really had that. I mean, part of what's interesting about her relationship with Ollie, to me at least, is that, like I said, Ollie has a way messier family and chosen family than Bruce. Bruce has one biological son, and then a bunch of adoptees. That's Bruce's thing. You seem like you need some direction. I can give that to you. Like, it's just a system. Ollie is like, I've been out fucking man. So like, there's a kid here, there's a kid there. His dad was like that too. So you got a couple of half siblings you didn't know about, and like, you know, Roy shacked up with a villain, and like now she's part of the family, and then he's got this kid. Like, there's all these like messier connections, and that's Ollie's thing because that's Ollie's life, and then Dinah comes in and she loves Ollie for who he is. She loves all those family members, but she kind of has like cool aunt, stepmom energy.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like, easy. My arrow's stuck in the quiver.
Gonna make me quiver.
Easy. But you know what I mean? Like, she kind of comes in and she's like, there's a lot going on here, and there's plenty for me to feel like rewarded by. And even Sin, you know, is a sort of adoptee. Like, so yeah, in a way it's funny because I'm not actually that interested in Ollie and Dinah like having their own kid.
Sure.
I kind of like their family the way it is. I think it's interesting, and that's not to say I would be like, this is bullshit, like throw the book out if they had their own kid or whatever, but there's something that I'm just kind of like, it's just a nice different kind of family to see. Like, Bruce and Selena end up having a kid. Like, we know that. I kind of like that they're a little bit different. It's nice to see different types of families, I think.
Yeah.
And so for me, I never think of her that way. And so because of that, and just her own kind of like relatively solo history, there's not a lot of like sidekick or like mantle passing, which is kind of why this Red Canary thing is such like a, like, where did this come from? What is this idea? And we kind of have to wait for it to pay off more.
Totally.
You know?
I like that. All right, let's go to the next question. Coming from Shall Not Pass.
Nice.
Constipated Gandalf, who asks,
Nice. One of the shit Tari.
Nice.
Yeah.
Since arrows are...
Shit Starry. Idiot. Fucking
I
stupid.
don't know if anybody even caught that.
They knew. And I knew, and we all knew.
Since arrows are typically used in warfare and hunting, is there a member of the arrow family who uses lethal force?
Well, I mean, I mentioned it up top. Like, Ollie has done a couple of times, actually. So, you know, the notable ones, he does it in Longbow Hunters, when he kills one of the people responsible for torturing Black Canary.
Sure.
He does it in Cry for Justice. So the villain Prometheus destroys Star City and with a bomb or whatever. And Leon Harper is presumed dead in there. And up until like 2 years ago was dead. And Ollie tracks down Prometheus and, like, wordless, not a drop of comedy in his blood, just like shoots him in the face. Jesus. And then goes on the run because he doesn't even bother to take the arrow out. He's like, I want people to know I did this. And then the Justice League's after him. You know, like, Ollie has definitely killed before, you know, even in like that Lemire Sorrentino run, I'm pretty sure Ollie's got some kills in there. If you watch the first season of Arrow, that's an arrow that kills, you know what I mean? Like, he's full vigilante in that kind of way. You know, Roy has killed, like that for sure. Yeah, Connor, you know, there's all this new like League of Lazarus kind of history for him and stuff like that. A lot of them have killed before. They mostly don't, because that's a line when you're a hero. Generally, they mostly don't, but they're not like,
they're a lot looser than a lot of other heroes.
Totally, and it's also
kind of hard when you have an arrow.
I mean, he still has to live with it. Like, there's consequences and mental anguish in that, but he's not like Batman, where he's like, if I did it once, I would fucking love it so much.
Yeah.
I would just like, you know, like, at least Bruce knows that about himself.
He's like, God, I would love to kill.
Ollie is totally a guy that, like, he'd be like, once.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an arrow. It's hard to not kill.
Because it's comics and you've seen it in some versions, but like he has a lot of his arrows, some of them have points on the end.
Sure.
But he also has like impact arrows and smoke bomb arrows and boxing glove arrows and
awkward conversation exit arrows.
Yeah, exactly. Or he's like in the cartoon, I think once he fires an arrow that just plugs into a computer and downloads things. It's like, just walk over, put a USB in. It's like, no.
Who could be bothered?
So we get around it sometimes that way, where he like fires an arrow and it like makes like an expanding foam thing that captures a guy, or there's net arrows. There's all these kind of things. But yeah, like he does also just have like arrows.
You're in my world now.
But here's the thing, like Batman, he's also not averse to just like hurting people.
Sure.
Like he'll just shoot an arrow through someone's calf or something and be
Sure.
like, good, try to run away.
You're not dead.
Which is like somehow kind of worse than what Batman does. But yeah, so I mean, there are many members of the Arrow family have killed. A lot of the story is more about like they shouldn't. It's bad. What are the consequences when you do, and having to like deal with it and learn from it and stuff. And it's funny because what's nice about Ollie and the Arrow family in general is that they are not. I think sometimes we get tired of Batman because he's like you've never made a wrong choice, you've never fucked up. Like, Ollie fucks up constantly, and the way that he's raised these kids, they fuck up constantly, but they can learn and grow and be better. If Ollie is talking to someone like Hawkman would be like, we should just put down our enemies, then they wouldn't be our enemies anymore. And Ollie would be like, there's a system. That's not how this works.
Sure.
Like, Ollie he can have that conversation with Hawkman, and then he'll turn around and he'll be like, oh no, like, I felt the rage Hawkman has. I get it. And sometimes I'm fucked up, but we shouldn't. Like, intellectually, there's a higher thing we should be aiming for, even though we're all just flawed fucking messing around in the muck. Batman sometimes is a little, he's so holier than thou because he never fucks
Batman
up,
does, but it's not because he's a better person, it's because he's a worse person.
Yeah, like in some way, like that's a messy way to describe it too. But I agree. Part of the attraction to me of Green Arrow is the thing that they can never do with Batman. They always say like, we want to make a realistic Batman. It's like, you can't. He's not. You could just make his gadgets look less fun, but you can't make him realistic. He's not. He's impossibly strong-willed. He's perfectly capable. Green Arrow is like, he's a man that's like funny and charming and angry and violent. And he's all of those things at once, and none of them are false. Like, Bruce Wayne is like a facade. Oliver Queen is not. He is that as well as Green Arrow. Like, he's a lot more interesting that way. He's not just a Batman ripoff. But then that ripples out through the family too. Connor Hawke is actually like a very like chill, like they met in a monastery. Like, he's like a very zen guy or whatever, but now he also has this League of Lazarus thing and all this kind of like other backstory that's a little bit more violent or whatever. Emiko Queen is like raised by assassins. Shadow is raised by assassins. There's like, everyone has one of these pasts, and then it's about how do they deal with it? How do they move past that or be better than it? Roy with his drug thing, like all of it,
Yeah. All right. Next question from Armpit the Hero.
How dare you?
Who asks, what happened to Sin Lance? Would you like to see her take up the Canary mantle?
So Sin was a character that she was like being trafficked or something like that.
Yikes.
Black Canary basically like rescued her from. Oh no! Okay, what happened was Canary and Lady Shiva like traded places for a year. Shiva was like, "You go train and be a better martial artist, and I'll take your place on the Birds of Prey or whatever."
Yeah.
And while Black Canary was there and she was training under this like ruthless kind of teacher or whatever, she met Sin, who was sort of being trained brutally and things like that. She basically like rescued her, adopted her, and brought her to to America, and so sort of took her in kind of as a child, kind of as a sibling. sort of thing, but basically like as her ward. Sin, we hadn't seen or heard much from Sin since Flashpoint, basically. But now in this new Black Canary, Birds of Prey book, we learn that Sin Lance is on Themyscira, and the Birds of Prey are trying to rescue her from there. You know, if you're listening, you know something I don't. I'm maybe an issue or two behind. I'm waiting for stuff to get to the Yukon.
Sure.
But Black Canary puts together a team to basically like break onto Themyscira to get Sin back. So Sin is in the comics again. There's an opportunity there to reintroduce Sin Lance and her relationship with Black Canary and all that kind of stuff. I guess there's a version of this where it makes a certain amount of sense for Sin to be a successor to Black Canary. Certainly more than Red Canary, who came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
But that's also kind of like saying, like, Dick should be Batman. Why would it be Damian? But you go like he just got there first. It's not necessarily
the best fit.
Maybe Sin deserves a better life than that generally. And Red Canary chose this and was inspired by Black Canary and stuff like that. Like, it might be nicer for Sin not to be a canary.
Sure, yeah.
And for Red Canary to actually do the mantle upholding, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a version of that makes some sense to me. Depending on what this character is, because I still feel like I just have no idea who Red Canary is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think...
We need like a lot more groundwork laid before I would like totally throw Sin over for Red Canary.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Theoretically, it could work that way.
All right, next question from Golden Ganji, who asks, how do you feel about the way that the CW show handled Roy Harper? Also, how hot is Colton Haynes?
I mean, Colton Haynes very attractive. I liked him on Arrow. Now, obviously, he's not like a kid. Like, him and Stephen Amell are closer in age, but there was still a very clear mentor-mentee relationship. I did like that Oliver brought him in. Now, his thing wasn't heroin. It was the Mirakuru from season 2 of Arrow.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember. That's when, so in that season, they backdoor pilot The Flash.
Yep.
And they start fucking with superpowers.
Yeah.
Because in the first season, they were like, we saw the Dark Knight. We know how to do superheroes.
This is grounded.
Count Vertigo was just like a guy peddling drugs,
Yeah.
and shit like that. And then in the second season, they were like, what if a guy could lift a crate? And they were like, give superpowers.
And season 4, they're like, what about aliens?
Totally. So season 2, they were like, Deathstroke, superpowers, The Flash. And then season 3 was like, Ra's al Ghul, back from the dead. And season 4, they were like, wizards. And they were just going crazy. So the thing with Roy was, I'm pretty sure he got hooked on Mirakuru. So they still, they were doing the thing. But I think he played maybe I shouldn't say more empathetic version, because I think if you go back and you read that Green Lantern, Green Arrow, I think you can have a lot of empathy for Roy. The problem was when creators started looking at that as like a cool, edgy thing about Roy.
Sure.
It's a thing that makes him tough. It's that he went through this. As opposed to it being like about vulnerability. Like, I actually think Colton Haynes does such a good job of the vulnerability of Roy Harper. He's just a person that, like, he needs so much help.
Yeah. And
he doesn't always get it. And his mentor doesn't always look out for him. And I think he played that really well. This is a slight tangent, but I think I remember reading, like, he had like such severe anxiety that he basically like he asked to like be written off the show.
Really?
It was just why he doesn't show up for a bunch, because it was just like the stress, the anxiety, like he was having like panic attacks and stuff. And
oh wow. Did he stop acting?
I don't know if he stopped acting entirely. I don't think so. And he did come back for like the odd episode later, but it was kind of why he wasn't really like around.
Oh wow.
For more of the show. But no, I think he gives a really good performance as Roy, and he's a good foil for Stephen Amell, who was playing such like a stoic, stern Ollie.
Yeah.
Like barely a drop of comedy in Stephen Amell in 8 years, kind of only when The Flash showed up.
Truly, yeah.
But Roy was good. Like, not that he was funny, but that he was like, he was a little bit of a, like, it's cool to be a superhero. He had a little bit of that, or like, it was an infusion that the show needed. It was that kind of energy. And I liked his dynamic with Thea, because they were like a romantic pairing too.
Oh, sure.
And Colton Haynes and Willa Holland had really good chemistry. So I liked them. Yeah.
Nice. All right, next question from Nameless Nerd Talk, who asks, why is Connor Hawke no longer in the spotlight? He should be just as beloved as Kyle Rayner, Wally West, etc. And yet, he fell off the face of the earth for so long and then showed up as a side character in a Robin comic. Like, what happened?
Okay, a couple of things here. I mean, I agree fundamentally, you know, like Connor Hawke was part of that era where all these young characters were taking over the mantles of Silver Age characters, right? Hal was gone, Kyle Rayner came in. Barry was gone, Wally took over. When Ollie died, Connor took over as Green Arrow. And that worked. And Connor and Kyle had a few encounters, but Connor like also left the Justice League because he, in that very Green Arrow way, was like, I think I do more good on the street than like fighting alien warlords or whatever, you know? And I think that was reasonable, but that also by definition takes him a little out of the spotlight. He also eventually went back to like his ashram, to like his monastery or whatever, to just like sort of meditate and things like that. And Ollie also wasn't dead for as long as most of the rest of them. He was back probably quicker. And so then that also forces, you know, like here's the thing though, Connor is still in Ollie's book. Like Connor and Ollie are both present in that Kevin Smith run when they introduced Mia Dearden as the new Speedy in that. That was sort of a shared Ollie Connor, you know, bit, you know, like they had like arcs and stuff where they were both in that book. He was gone for a very long time, like many characters that kind of suffered of that generation during the New 52 and things like that. He is back though. He's in this Green Arrow book. He's had a couple of like short stories and anthologies and things like that. And he was a main character in this Robin title. Mm-hmm. I just want to take a little quick tangent here to talk about a thing that I have a strong opinion about, but we don't necessarily just talk about it. So everyone's got favorite characters, and I love that. I've got favorite characters. Some of them don't get nearly enough play. Dr. Fate doesn't get nearly enough play. Metamorpho, blah, 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 blah. I could go on. I love when people have favorite characters, and I love that people advocate for their favorite characters. What I don't like, and what I think is like, I'm not saying this about this question, but I'm just saying it makes me think of stuff I see online.
Sure.
There's a certain category of person that's just petulant if their character doesn't get everything Batman gets, and I get it. It's I agree with the exasperation at all the Batman, but also he's Batman.
Yeah,
it's like when you go like, I don't know, pick a random character. You go like, how come Martian Manhunter doesn't have a 200 issue series? You go like, he's Martian Manhunter.
He's not Batman.
I love him, but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or it will, and we'll love it, but like, you know, like Starman got 80 issues, and that's an incredible book. But that was also like once in a lifetime, and they had to fold in 7 different versions of Starman to make it work.
Sure.
And it was also kind of half a shade book, you know? And so when you have a character that you like and they show up in another book, why be disappointed that it's not their book? Like, you know what I mean? Like the framing of this question just made me think of it. It was like, Connor's been gone for so long and now he's just in this Robin book. It's like, he's a main character. This is like, Connor is back. And we're setting up how fucking good Connor is by having him own Damian.
Sure.
Just like absolutely wreck him in this tournament and stuff like that, which is like, Connor fought Lady Shiva to a standstill back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Connor's a great fighter. And so it's actually kind of great. We like, who's a great fighter who's like full of themselves, who has a lot to live up to with their like mantle or whatever. Be like Robin, and then Connor could just like own his ass, and then Connor's back, and he's in this book, and he's working with Leon Harper, and he helps rescue Ollie. Like he saves the title character of the book, and both he and Ollie are Green Arrow. You're getting everything you want. Like yeah, that's my little rant. It's like, I'm sure this question was just like, just asking nicely, but it just made me think. I see it so much online where people like look at the solicits and they go, huh, another month without a, like Detective Chimp solo series. When will DC respect our boy? And it's like, God, like,
you're never going to get that. Yeah.
It's like, I think it becomes a problem when there's a difference between having a favorite and then having only one thing you like.
Sure.
And if you only like one thing, then yeah, it's always going to suck not getting it. But if you're more of a generalist like me, who just likes that there are things, then when they happen, you can just enjoy them. I would just enjoy the fact that Connor's back. He has a cool story in one of the DC Pride things. He's shown up in that Robin book. He's in this Green Arrow book. He's like around. Connor is back definitively. Like, that's cause for celebration. He's kind of one of the last of those characters to make it back. We had even gotten Wally and like Donna Troy and some of these other lost characters. We got them back years earlier. We finally got Connor back. It took way too long. I totally agree, but we should be happy about this. Not like, ugh, why isn't it more?
Yeah.
We're lucky we have a Green Arrow book.
I'm thinking Connor's back.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's back.
All right. Next question.
And what's on his back?
Oh.
A quiver.
Oh.
Yeah.
It will be.
Yeah. A quiver.
Luzar asks,
how dare you?
In the Young Justice TV show, Artemis Croc is Oliver's protege after Roy, but keeps her comics accurate parentage. Does Artemis / Tigress have any connection to the Arrow family in the comics?
Ooh. Yeah, right. So on Young Justice, Roy is in that show, but he walks off in a huff. He ends up with a real crazy arc, but he walks off in a huff in like the pilot and stuff. Yeah. And then when they're making the team, they end up with this different Arrow sidekick called Artemis, and everyone's like, there's a mystery about her or whatever. And then you learn over the course of the show that her parents are supervillains.
Yes.
Tigress and Sportsmaster.
Mm-hmm.
If you watched Stargirl, the show, the CW show, Artemis is on that show, and her parents are Tigress and Sportsmaster.
Yeah.
The Arrow brought her in. Artemis is in that. I don't know if they brought in Sportsmaster or anything like that. That was kind of when I wasn't watching.
Yeah.
In the comics, I don't think there's as strong a connection at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's mostly an invention outside. I might be slightly speaking out of school here, but like, even when you see these composite images of like the Arrow family, like Artemis isn't really there. I guess there's. Did she become? Oh, hang on. Now, Arrowette. Who's Arrowette? That might have been Artemis. Sorry, I actually have to double check that because that's a little murky for me. But yeah, I mean, just to speak a little bit about, so Sportsmaster and Tigress are like Golden Age bad guys. They're members of the Injustice Society. And yeah, their kid is Artemis Croc. My phone is being super slow here, but let's just Arrowette DC. And I think Mia Dearden ended up becoming Arrowette. Bonnie King. Oh, Sissy King Jones, right. Yeah, no, that has nothing to do with Artemis Croc, actually. So just a totally different character entirely. So no, I think in the comics, Artemis doesn't really have that much to do with Green Arrow. They might have done something like I would say post Young Justice, maybe they would do something, because that was like kind of a cool integration of that character. But no, generally in the comics, I don't think they're that connected at all.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave Reddit and head on over to the Doc Scored.
Oh, fuck.
And go.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Nope. Nope.
Okay, now.
No, now I'm thinking of like all the songs I'm thinking of we've done.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So just hang on.
Uh-huh.
Nope.
Jesus Christ, just go.
I've got it.
Uh-huh.
Just
any song that you haven't done. There's so many songs in the world.
No. There's 3.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
There's 3.
Yeah.
God, I'm just like looking at movies for help. And
Jesus Christ, a song.
Thank you for doxing a scored.
Sure.
Gonna dox a scored and scored again.
Not even a
dox a scored.
theme song
You're a
to a TV
scored
show.
and a doxed down.
Doc scored.
Yeah, the Golden Girls theme. There you go.
The Golden Scoreds.
Yeah.
The Doc and
The Scolding Girls. It's Doc.
Scolding.
Hey, listen, I'm on board.
First question comes from Sexy.
Ooh, wow, sexy. It's Josh Gill.
Oh, okay.
He's changed his name to Sexy.
Oh, I like that. Nice.
I would have thought that would have just been assumed. I want the record to show that I knew it was Josh Gill, and Richard didn't. He didn't just assume, and he didn't just like know it in his heart. And I just want that to be out there, and for all of us to think about what it means.
I just thought it was weird if you were asking questions to yourself. That's all.
Oh, you. Well, don't I look like an asshole?
Always. Sexy asks, with Leanne Harper running around the Catwoman books now,
right?
Is she considered part of the Arrow family or the Cat family? Would Cheshire be considered part of the family since her and Roy did the horizontal tango? Who all is part of the Arrow family in current continuity?
Yeah, I mean, Cheshire is sort of adjacently part of the family, but again, kind of the way that like Talia is part of the Bat family.
Sure.
It's like kind of, but you're on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Stained rules. She's on the outside, she's looking in.
Oh. I just thought it meant that you had to wash your sheets.
Easy. Yeah. So Leon Harper. This
the
is
professional.
Yeah. This is Roy Harper's child with.
It's Leon?
Well, because it's like a.
Or Leon?
It's like a East Asian pronunciation.
Oh.
It's spelled like Lian, but it's
Yeah.
like Leon Harper.
Oh, Leon. Okay.
This is Roy's child with Cheshire. The one that was presumed dead when Prometheus blew up Star City.
Okay.
Now, a major retcon that has happened is that her death was faked by Amanda Waller.
Whoa.
And then since that time, she has been bouncing around through time and the multiverse.
Jesus.
Sometimes deliberately and sometimes not. To the point where we are revealing things in the current Green Arrow series.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it was that, like, she had gone back in time and ended up, like, 3 years ago in Catwoman comics.
What?
This character called Shoes that was in Catwoman comics.
Wow.
Was later revealed to be Leon. But those Shoes adventures were revealed to be, like, she was already part of this Waller thing.
Oh, Jesus.
So, like, Shoes is even in the current the current Detective Comics arc, the Orgum thing that's going on right now in Detective Comics. So Leon actually kind of walks in two worlds a little bit. Spends a lot of time in Gotham. Is part of a very extended sort of version of the Bat family through Catwoman, but is also obviously part of the Arrow family, is Roy's daughter, is, essentially Ollie's like adoptive granddaughter.
Wow.
Like all of these kind of things. So she's in there. And she goes by Cheshire Cat now. That's her code name or whatever. But she's around, but like a lot of weird, backbreaking kind of retconning to make it that she was never actually dead.
Wow.
So she's also a lot older than she was when Star City exploded and stuff like that. How many members are there of the Arrow family right now?
Yeah.
Well, more or less. There's Ollie, Dinah, Sin, let's say Red Canary. Let's lump her in there. Then there's Roy, Mia, Sissy, Shadow, Emiko, Connor. Those are like active kind of Arrow folk, but then there's also like John Diggle and like there's like some of those characters, and there's probably like 10, 11 kind of like relatively close Arrow fam characters.
It is a big team.
It's relatively big, yeah.
Wow. All right.
Even the Super Family's huge now though. Like what was it just last week we were talking about them? There's Connor and John and Kara and Paige, Power Girl, and then there's also Ra and Otho Ra, and there's Kong Kanan, and there's like the Super Family's massive now too. They all are. That's what happens when 80 years of history is now caught up.
Sure. Next question from Lilith, who asks, the Connor Hawk story in DC Pride 2022 confirmed the long-held fan theory that Connor is asexual.
Right.
Has Connor shown up since then? And if so, has this concept been brought up again?
Connor has absolutely shown up since. So that Robin book and then Green Arrow book are the two kind of biggest examples. I don't... other than they haven't undone it, I don't think there's anything
he don't be fucking.
There's nothing to point to them being like, and here is an asexual story.
Yeah.
But they haven't like forgotten or undone it. They haven't been like, and here's Connor definitely
getting down,
kissing, or you know what I mean? Like, as far as I know, he's still asexual, like aromantic as a character. But no, nothing that is jumping to mind as very specifically like examining that other than that Pride story, which is a neat one. I think that's the one with Kong Kanan in it too, because Connor has a really interesting background too. He's like a quarter Korean, and like he's got like a mixed ancestry, and he has this complicated relationship with Ollie, and to be like one of very few explicitly asexual characters, I think is also interesting. There's a lot you could do with Connor, but I just don't think they've gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they just don't have the people writing I think it's unlikely that they are ace kind of writers.
Sure. So
it might just be missing some insight about like how to do that, or like other than saying it, like what else do we do to show that like they might just be missing some perspective or something like that right now. But yeah, hopefully at some point it'll get examined more.
Totally. Next question comes from the moral compass of the Doc Scored, who asks, how does Emiko score on the representation scale? Is she treated appropriately, or is she just another eroticized Asian femme fatale stereotype?
I mean, she's not eroticized at all. So on that scale, you can immediately count that out.
That's good.
Emiko's not eroticized at all. She's there's the other version of the stereotype, which she's like an extremely capable East Asian badass.
Sure.
Which is like maybe its own version of dehumanizing a little bit. But I think they've done a lot of good work with Emiko on like having these relationships and stuff to like make, she's not Katana. Like even Katana, they've tried, I think, to like, what are the more human sides of her? And she always just ends up being this like stoic soul taker, blah, blah, blah. Like, Emiko isn't that. Like she has a personality. She has fun. She has friends. She dates. She, is capable. She doesn't need help. She's a good sidekick, but she's a hero in her own right. Like, she's on a team. She works well there. She works well solo. Like, she's actually pretty well rounded as far as a character goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak like culturally to like, do Emiko stories bring something specific to the table culturally or anything like that, but I would say if it's about like, she doesn't just show up and you go like, oh, it's like insert like racist.
Ooh, me love you long time.
Well, certainly not that,
Yeah.
but also not like Cheshire, Roy's lover and villain, sometimes falls into the trap of the like the dangerous, sexy ninja lady.
Sure,
you
yeah.
know, like Cheshire falls into that. Emiko doesn't really. Even Shadow kind of falls into that, but Emiko doesn't. I'd actually say she's, in my opinion, my perspective on it, she's sort of probably like a great, like a 9 or a 10 on the positive, like refreshing representation scale.
It's good.
Yeah. That's my feeling about it, but I mean, you'd really have to go through and read all of it, and you'd have to read it with a perspective different than mine, maybe, to get like, an objective answer. But yeah, some of those like big obvious pitfalls just don't apply to Emiko, which is a good start, I think.
All right. Next question comes from Mullet of Kailash,
Fuck.
who asks, since Emiko is Ollie's half-sister and pre-Flashpoint continuity is largely back in place, does this mean Ollie was basically drugged and taken advantage of by his stepmom?
Emiko is the daughter of Shadow and Robert Queen. This is not, because again, we've erased the Shadow and Ollie hooked up thing.
Yeah.
Does not exist anymore.
There's just Moira.
Robert Jr. or does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
So that's out of there.
The question was Ollie drugged and taken advantage of by his mom?
Right. Yeah. Well, like I said before, we've pretty much erased the stuff that happened before. Like, I'm positive that like Robert Jr. doesn't exist and things like that. I know the pre-Flashpoint is back, but some things have still remained from New 52, right? Which, even despite the everything happened, it doesn't mean that everything is currently happening all at once. It just means like it did, but now things have changed, but people know they've changed. And I think one of the maybe weird unspoken ones is that they know that the relationship with Shadow is different. But yeah, I mean, if someone ever brought Robert Jr. back, which is certainly, at some point down the line, someone might do it. And if they did, then yeah, it would absolutely mean that Ollie was tied up by his stepmom. I mean, that's a really gross, weird story. It's got those gross Talia vibes and stuff like that. But yeah, that would be. I guess that would be true. Yeah.
Anyways, last question from Drago the Black Rose, who asks, didn't Red Arrow lose his arm? How did that get back? Bonus question, is Roy still Red Arrow or is he Arsenal?
Roy did lose his arm. It was during that whole Prometheus thing. It got like cut off. You've probably seen the panel before. It's a really gruesome one of him just like holding this stump. And part of being like Arsenal was that like he got like a mech arm kind of thing. But then there's been all these continuity changes, right? The New 52 and he was younger again, and then Rebirth and, Dr. Manhattan fucking with stuff and Doomsday Clock, and then Roy fucking died in Heroes in Crisis, but then that got kind of undone, and then also he fucking died again, like he was the Black Lantern in Infinite Frontier, and then that led into Dark Crisis, and he's just back now. There have been so many like physical and metaphysical changes for Roy that it's like the least of the things is that his arm is back, But that's the short version is just a lot of retcons and timey-wimey continuity things. and Roy's died a couple times since, so he's back with arms. That's kind of where we're at with Roy. He is Arsenal. He's part of the Arrow family.
You think he's well armed?
Oh my god. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Nice. But yeah, that's Roy.
Send us a question for next week's episode.
Next week, we're going to be talking about like radioactive powers, radiation, like weapons, storylines, anything involving like radioactivity,
nuclear energy,
like radiation powers, like horrible accidents that involve that kind of stuff. Anything like DC related to radiation.
Good thing to say, DC related.
Yeah, I don't just want to be like sitting here talking about Fukushima for the whole
Hiroshima, yeah.
You know, so.
All right, well, you could send those questions to us through various platforms.
That's right. We're Dr. DC Podcast on the platforms.
And I just realized that I got a stroke.
Oh, okay, good.
I was just like, that is the platform.
Nice.
I'm fine, everybody. Listen to the double this week, which you can subscribe to on the Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/DrDC. There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Doc Squad, our amazing Discord fan community. At the $5 level, you get the double dose, our weekly bonus episode. And it's Personal Confessions month right now on the double. And like, boy, is there a doozy at the top of this week's episode.
Yep.
And at the highest level, you get theme pools and all sorts of bonus content, series like Toretto Talks and Bonding Time, and all of that helps to support us.
You'd think, how could this year be any crazier than last year? Yep.
Let's just say God has it out for Richard.
Though from what I hear at the end of this month, from a horoscope standpoint, I'm 15 years of being downtrodden is actually gonna be over.
Okay. 2 little corrections here. Have you only been downtrodden for 15 years? Because what I've heard, that doesn't track.
Well, there was like a very specific 15-year sort of thing that I'm in, so it may not be the only.
You're in it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Certainly leave some unaccounted for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Learn more about those.
Yeah.
All of this month.
Sure. Yeah, baby.
Also, we have another podcast.
Yeah, Ghostfacers, a Supernatural rewatch. We're going through every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We are almost through season 8, if you
Holy
can
shit,
believe
that's right.
it. We talk about real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff about the shows. Go check that out.
Baby.
Adios.
Hey, babe.
Heroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.